preseason game, Giants routing the Jets 26-3. And New York obviously exposed on offense. Both Mark Sanchez and Tim Tebow, according to this game, not the guy you want to start. Not the guy that you want to rally your football team around. How do the Jets fare, after a performance like this? How does Rex Ryan say, hey, this offense isn't coming along, but defense, I need you to step up and play? Only 3 points put up by the Jets this week.
Yeah, I know Rex Ryan is a defensive-minded guy, but you have this team in the New York Jets. They're the only team in the league that, they've now played 2 games. They've yet to score an offensive touchdown on any level. First string, second string, third string, 0 touchdowns so far. And, at this level, that's just unacceptable. You got to get points on the board no matter how it is. And, you have Tebow and you have Sanchez, and it doesn't seem like either of these guys are getting it done.
Yeah, for the Jets coming into the year, they've made more headlines than first downs seemingly to this point. Yeah, that might make a top headline somewhere. But the thing is, for the Jets, so many headlines. You even have, Antonio Cromartie with that, hey, I can be your number 2 receiver over here in New York. Honestly, I feel like New York, they've gone on the downwards trend. I don't see Rex Ryan as a terrible coach. I feel like he's one of the best defensive minds in all of football right now. He claims he's the best. I don't know about I don't know about how, the Niners and the Ravens, and the Steelers, with all their personnel and coordinating, I don't see that, Rex Ryan is the best defensive mind. But I do feel like he can rally his troops, but I don't see how far the Jets go. I mean, do you see in this division, obviously the reigning champ Giants, do you see, just in your own stadium, you have the Giants, that you have to face off. And how do you see the Jets facing off this year?
Well, I definitely see why Rex Ryan thinks he's the greatest defensive mind, considering who his father was and what he accomplished. But as far as with Cromartie, and we talked about it last week, jokingly about him playing receiver. Turns out he did play a little receiver in practice and scored 2 touchdowns. So that might not be a topic put to rest. We might have to talk about that again later. But overall, this team just seems like a mess, and I don't know what they're going to do. They trade for a guy. I've never seen a guy on special teams get so many. Does he really believe us to? Expects us to believe that he brings this guy in to be a punt protector? Slowly but surely, you must have brought this guy in to take his job. And, he had a wide-open touchdown that he underthrew, Tebow did, in this last game. I don't know if you caught any of it. But overall, the Jets are in trouble, and they need to either take Tebow and say, this is going to be our guy. They're going to do what Denver did and revamp their whole offense and make it very, option-esque. Or they're going to stick with Sanchez because, when it comes right down to it, they have had some success with Sanchez. They've been to 2 conference championships. So at some level, this guy can play. And I think if you believe in him and, put the offense and show that this is our guy, then that's the only way you're going to get production out of Sanchez. He's not the kind of guy that's going to play consistently when you have a guy, breathing down his neck to take his job.
Yeah, I feel like for Tebow and for Sanchez, both those guys, Sanchez can obviously play. He did make 2 conference championship games, as you mentioned, Phil, but I feel like this team might be going in the downwards trend. They did go 8-8 last year, did not make the playoffs. It was kind of like the situation with the Cowboys, you might even say the Eagles or the Chargers, all 4 teams going 8-8. Not the best scenario for New York right now with 2 quarterbacks both trying to win the starting job. Tebow looking bad one week, and then Sanchez throwing a pick the next. He did throw an INT today, in the Week 2 matchup that they had against the Giants. I don't see this being a situation to succeed for New York. This might be another one of those 8-8 years where they, just try and rebuild, in the ensuing draft. Do you even see the Jets making the playoffs this year, let alone even by chance making the championship game?
I would be very surprised to see the Jets, make it into the playoffs. You look, Mark Sanchez did throw a touchdown for New York, but it was the New York Giants this past week. His interception was returned for a touchdown. This is just a team that I don't see how this is. You look at their receiving core, and, behind Santonio Holmes, you really don't know a lot of these guys. Here's the situation. I think they should have brought back Plexico Burress because he definitely was productive for them. I don't know why they wouldn't keep somebody around who scored 7 touchdowns and, stayed out of trouble the whole year, stayed healthy the whole year. Mm-hmm. But, this is a combination of, poor quarterback play and depleting offense as far as playmakers are concerned.
Yeah, I feel like it's not a good situation for the New York Jets, and I feel like the quarterback situation and even the overall morale of the football team as a whole is not good for the Jets and not good for, let's move on to a team like maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had a terrible game against the Titans, losing 30-7. Another one of those blowouts. You don't like to see all these blowouts in preseason, You don't like to see teams just getting blown out of the water, especially in exhibition play, but that was the case in Tampa Bay. How do you feel? Locker played terrible, but how do you feel about Josh Freeman not exactly playing all that much better in this contest, going only 4 for 10?
Yeah, living in Florida, there's definitely a huge, collection of Bucs fans. A lot of them are people I hang out with. My best friend, shout out to Jeremy. He's doing his thing in the Navy, biggest Bucs fan I know. Him and anyone else, they like Josh Freeman. He came to camp, reportedly 20 pounds lighter this year, and they have good things to say. He played fairly well in the first preseason game, obviously not in the second one. But the Bucs are perfectly a up and down team. 10-6 2 years ago. I believe it was 4-12, something like that this year. They ended the year with 10 straight losses, which led to the firing of their head coach. And here's a team. They have a few new pieces. They have Vincent Jackson, the first round pick, Doug Martin, who is splitting reps with LeGarrette Blount, who is on record saying that if they can get on tap together, they can be one of the better running back in the league. I think there's more positives than negatives ahead for the Bucs. This could have just been one of those bad games, but you look at it and you see how bad Locker played. If you didn't watch the game, you don't know how they scored 30 points. It was really, just a difficult thing to see, and you didn't really understand how it happened that way. But the Bucs, after winning that first game against Miami, you definitely go back to the drawing board and prove that they do need more work done there in Tampa. And, I'm not saying they're a bona fide playoff spot, but I do think they'll surprise some people. It'll definitely be better than 4-12. They should be shooting around 8-8, possibly a winning season. That's what I expect from Tampa this year.
Yeah, the fascinating thing is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are probably, the best example of a team on paper that should be blowing teams out of the water, but instead are not doing all so hot this year. Last year, and going into this year, not much better. They brought in a young guy, Mike Williams, who in his rookie year played really well, exceptionally well, and he was one of those guys that was supposed to come in and be the big play receiver that they need in the coming years. Now they have to go in free agency to get Jackson to do that, but I feel like with the Buccaneers on paper they should be better than they're playing right now. Josh Freeman is another guy that should be playing extremely well, but you also go back to that defense. They played terrible, especially in this preseason game. Not a big play guy, even across the board. And you have that Aqib Talib guy that's getting really old. I don't even know if he's still around the team. Yes, he is. He's back this year. But, this defense, full of question marks, and the offense should be playing better than they are.
Well, yeah, just a quick correction here. The old guy you're talking about, that'd be Rondé Barber, who they've actually switched to safety to play this year. Yeah. But I agree with you. This is one of those teams, you play with them on Madden and you play lights out because on paper this should be, a playoff Super Bowl contending team. But then when you get a chance to, see them on TV, they just don't seem to connect as well. But, here's a team, definitely a lot to work out. They can get there, but it just comes down to how much do they want it.
Yeah, and actually, here we're wrapping up final 5 minutes of the show. Actually, I have yet to tell you the call-in number. We've been on for nearly an hour, and we have yet to see any questions, probably because I haven't given you a number. It's 951-515-4552. That's the call-in number. Just give you any questions that you need. I'm sure we'll be able to answer it probably next show. But we'll go to our final topic. On paper, we were supposed to get to this, but Terrell Pryor. Now, it's interesting how he gets NFL headlines, let alone makes an impact in a preseason game. But, he had 2 fourth-quarter chances, to win and rally his football team. Now Oakland is 0-2 in exhibition play. And Terrell Pryor, very unclutch, I would say. How do you feel about Terrell Pryor's performance? Now, he's in the running for the backup job. That's for certain. But how do you feel, Terrell Pryor, and was this even a good situation at all for, the Raiders to begin with?
Well, you see, with Terrell Pryor, he will forever have a level of pressure put on him that I don't even think we can fully understand because, watching these games, I watched his first game against Dallas and I caught a little bit of his second game. When he walked out on the field, he was, brought out as the last signing by Al Davis. This is the last Al Davis guy, the last person that he believed in. And that's a lot of pressure when you realize how much Al Davis meant to this Raider organization. And, when we did our show last week, the Raider game was on. I had it on in my other screen while we were doing the show. And he came down, he was driving the ball down the field. The Cowboys were up 3-0 with a minute left in the game. Perfect situation for Terrell Pryor to drive down the field, have the Raiders win in last-minute fashion, and just have a great moment. I know it's preseason. He knows it's preseason, and so does Raider Nation. But overall, it's just something that they would have loved to see. What happens, he ends up throwing a pick. They throw a challenge flag, and it turns out it was not an interception. The ball hit the ground first. Next play, he throws another interception. So it was really just a killing moment. I'm a Raider supporter. I wouldn't call myself a fan. Terrell Pryor, went to Ohio State. I'm a Penn State fan, not exactly an alma mater that I'm going to root for. But I was pulling for him. I wanted to see that moment happen. A very similar situation in his last game. He could have led them down the field to score. He did not. He was sacked. He made a few plays with his feet, but throwing the ball, it's just not there. There's a lot more to be done with Terrell Pryor to make this a success story. But I think it goes back to that pressure is he's the last Al Davis guy, and that's really going to hang on him for his career.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's not a rookie. He's a one-year pro, and he's coming into this situation, trying to make a play in the preseason game. Now, you also have to put into account the fact that Terrell Pryor, he was, a guy that went undrafted. He was taken in the supplemental draft by the Raiders, and I think it was the third round of the supplemental draft. I'm interested to see how. Yeah, I'm interested to see how the supplemental draft works exactly. But the thing is, with Terrell Pryor, not many undrafted players, let alone quarterbacks, make a case in a regular season game. The Raiders, I feel like he's going to have, he's going to be on the roster for that regular season game. Not many undrafted players, make an NFL roster seemingly more than, final cuts of a preseason game. I feel like, for Terrell Pryor, just too much pressure put on him. For the fact that he really isn't supposed to be, any sort of a savior or even a starter in the NFL.
Yeah, obviously, if he was not, with his situation at Ohio State where he had to forgo his senior year, he'd be gearing up to play college ball last year. This would be his rookie year right now. And, the way the supplemental draft works, you take someone in supplemental draft, which, for whatever reason, whether it be physical reasons, did not enter the real draft, and since they took him in the third round, they forfeit a third round pick for the next year. That's the way a supplemental draft works. Mm-hmm. So essentially, this is a third round draft pick, and if it not be for the Al Davis situation, he would just be another guy trying to make a team, that had a fairly solid college career. And I just think that extra Al Davis thing, just every time he steps on the field, the last of the Al Davis, draft picks, he'll forever be known as that. And that's pressure that, it's got to be unbearable in a city like Oakland, in a team like the Raiders. He definitely has a lot to, if he's going to make it in the NFL, I think he'll be a wildcat quarterback. And the way Oakland does things, I don't think they would mind setting up a special package of plays for someone like him with his diversity. Because the way Oakland is, if you're fast, if you're good, they will find a spot for you. That's the way Al Davis did it, and I think that's the way they'll continue to do it.
Yeah, and I feel like for Terrell Pryor, when you have a guy that comes into your system and there's debate on whether he should play quarterback or receiver or any other position skill-wise on the field, I feel like it's not exactly a position to succeed for any football team, even the Raiders, with the fact that they emphasize speed day in and day out. Now, here with, the NFL goal line, Nick Rice and Phil Nunziata, we'll be back a week from today. Monday nights at 7. Make sure to tune us in. The number is 951-515-4552. That's the call-in number. Leave us any questions. You don't have to text us at 7 o'clock on Mondays. You can call us throughout the week. We'll make sure to get your questions in on the show, for our hourly broadcast of the NFL Goal Line. Now with Phil Nunziata, got his name right that time, I am Nick Rice, and thank you for listening to NFL Goal Line. You guys mean so much to us, and obviously we're trying to become, a better show on the radio with time. So that'll do it here for the NFL Goal Line. I'm Nick Rice, and that's Phil Nunziata. Make sure to catch us a week from tonight. So long, guys, and have a good night.
See you next week.